Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers. So it's that time again, another year older, and another movie marathon. It seems to be becoming a SP Film Viewers tradition now, doesn't it?
I'd like to keep this going, yeah, for as long as we can, really. As long as we do this.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, this was, but we did have some good snacks. I feel like we even outdid ourselves compared to last time.
It was a nicer environment, isn't it, at this house than it is the other one?
It's true. But the only problem was the table that I created as a snack table was in the living room, whereas last time it was in the kitchen, so you had to get up
and move around,
to go and get your snacks, where this was like literally just right next to us. It was quite dangerous.
Yeah, we had a good time anyway, so.
We did. And you'll probably have seen as we're trying to do reels.
Yeah.
So they're up there, and we also did some stories and stuff to kind of document the day, didn't we?
Yes. So, the idea of this episode, anyway, I'll say now, is it might be a bit more unedited, should we say, as to things. For me, for convenience of time, really, to get this episode out, really. So, if there's any blunders, as opposed to usual, when I'm more meticulously when in terms of editing, then it's more the case of just freestyling it in a sense and being a bit more like a blah, blah, blah kind of thing.
Yeah, because obviously we've got to fit quite a bit in.
Yeah.
And we don't want you guys getting bored of us talking too in depth, even though I wrote so many notes, because I know what I'm like. Like, I'm one of those goldfish people. Something enters my brain, something else has to go out for me to retain it, so I have to write them.
So what we're going to start with is the film that neither of us have seen, then the one that you're watching for the first time, and then lastly is the one that we've both seen. I think that was kind of like how we did it last time anyway. So
I think so, yeah. So you want your kind of full divided attention initially
at the beginning of the day, yeah.
And then the one that you have seen at the end,
and,
you can kind of be like,
yeah,
I've seen this, it's not so bad, or it's, I've loved seeing this, can't wait to see it again, which last year that's what it was, because it was La La Land. This year it wasn't the case.
Not so much, yeah. A jokey one, really. Yeah. But anyway, let's get on with talking about the first one we neither of us have seen, and that is, of course, had to throw a Japanese film in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because as you all well know, we love Japanese cinema and everything about it.
We just love it to bits. We can't not do it.
Yeah.
And
this one is called Tampopo, which actually translates to dandelion, and it so kindly tells you in the opening credits. Because
it does, and at the end, kind of.
Yeah. Wraps it all up.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest Japanese films I've seen. First of all, the basic storyline is beautiful and it's really lovely.
Yeah.
And that part of the film is like gold dust. It's really, really lovely, because this person, the truckers, are helping out Tampopo, and she's just like, basically now, I think her husband must have passed away, and she's looking after a little boy, and they kind of can see that she needs a little bit of help and support, and they don't really need to do anything. They don't know her. They don't really need to help her at all, and it's just some kind-hearted men.
Mm-hmm.
Even, they might say that they've fallen in love, but even then, that's not the reason why he did it.
No, he wanted to see her progress. He saw the potential within her work, and he kind of wanted just to really help her find a footing and be the best that she could be. Really,
which is lovely. It's like that, like somebody to just be there for you for no incent for their own.
Yeah.
Normally now it's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back kind of thing, or what am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
He got nothing out of it.
No, not really.
Apart from the enjoyment, well, I guess enjoyment of seeing it come into fruition, obviously.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything selfish that he was going to gain, which is that little story in itself is beautiful.
Yeah, you could argue the case of it maybe like, oh, well, he kind of gets to know her a bit, and then it's kind of like that inkling of whether he's going to fall in love with her type of thing. But it's kind of like no, I'm not really interested, but I think kind of secretly is, and she kind of is too.
Of course, yeah, it's mutual.
But it doesn't really get to that sappy point at the end. It's kind of like he's a bit like, the film's kind of called like a Japanese Western. There are some elements of that because he's kind of like the Lone Ranger type of character, where he's kind of like, my work here is done type of thing at the end, and kind of like, I'll leave and then ride off of me the sunset in the horse.
On your truck instead of a horse.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's kind of, you do have a little bit of a scuffle and a brawl kind of.
Yeah, there's those tropes, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a Western as what we would class as a Western.
No. And like the instance at the beginning where obviously they're coming into the ramen shop at the beginning, it's kind of like
God, it was making me so hungry.
And the usual thing, almost like the record skip when someone walks into, and it's like, what are you doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't belong here, you're not a regular.
Yeah. So that type of vibe.
But the ramen
did make you hungry.
It did. Yeah. We've had ramen. We've been lucky enough. I don't think it was home brewed like this ramen. I think it was from one of those machines, if I remember.
Probably, yeah.
Well, no, actually, it wasn't.
I know we did go to one place where they did do a proper in a
kitchen. We ordered it off
a
machine.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
So I was thinking it came out of this machine. No, it didn't.
No, it wasn't like a cup of soup thing or something from a vending machine. No, it was an actual proper.
It just, you self-collect, you paid on the machine, then they cooked it for you, didn't they?
Yeah. Made to order.
These pink, what looks like shrimp, but it's like artificial pink thing that's within the ramen that gets flung on that guy's face. What is that?
Oh, yes. So I did have to look that up, actually, because I didn't actually know what it was. I'm thinking it must have a name. It was called Naruto Maki, which is, I think it's called ramen fish cake.
I could definitely do without that in my ramen.
Right. Okay.
Unless it adds flavour, but when I actually ate it, I remember I didn't like it.
You might like it now, maybe, if it was... You've had more like sushi and stuff, more accustomed to that.
It's very fishy. That's what I recall it being. And rubbery.
I can maybe get that, because it's kind of... It's almost like it looks like a fake like candy type thing, doesn't it, in a way?
It looks like it shouldn't belong in your ramen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was that kind of the way that they spoke about food within this.
Where they described it, and where obviously used the cinematography to make it look really appetizing. Like in Studio Ghibli films, where it's kind of like they make the food look so like beautifully like glistening and everything. It just bring it to life.
In Japan, though, don't they? Really, because it's like they have plastic kind of food. Displayed to show what you could get, and the way that they photograph it. I know, like on a lot of Japanese menus, they used to say these pictures aren't what the food possibly could look like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, which really seems mind-boggling to me. Like in the UK, it's like, if you were looking at a menu, normally the picture of what the food is what you're going to get.
Not always the case. McDonald's.
It's not like a pretty
pizza
picture.
Things that spring to mind at the moment with how when we've ordered stuff and it's like, that doesn't look like that at all. But
more glamorized, I guess. But this is like completely plastic food, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was the part where they did the noodles, of how to cook the noodles.
Uh-huh.
So like the fact that it needs to be in for certain temperature, and then I don't do this, I'm really bad. And that to make it crunchy, like squishy but chewy, but kind of like smooth at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even think about all these. But I guess it's a similar thing like spaghetti, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can overcook spaghetti.
Yes, you can. And it can spoil it.
Makes it just chewy.
But again, that's also another thing of like, depending on the quality of the spaghetti as well. Similar to noodles, you can tell the difference, guys, sometimes with certain foods. Just certain foods you shouldn't just skimp on. Bread is definitely something you should not skimp on. Bread, cheap bread is just like
there's no
cardboard.
Point in having it. Unless you toast it, I guess you could get away with it because then it creates to be cardboard anyways, doesn't it? But going on to the pasta side of things, there was another food element which kind of made me chuckle, where we're in like a restaurant where it's showing like etiquette for
eating spaghetti.
Spaghetti. First of all, let's just put an inside joke on Paul here. I know it is your birthday, but Paul's spaghetti eating isn't the best. Like, if we took you to Italy, I'm pretty sure they would laugh at how you eat your spaghetti.
Yeah, I'm not good at twisting around the spoon and everything like that.
You need a bib, like, if that's going to even happen. You're more like a Japanese. You would want to slurp it and be like a bit of an animal eater.
Yeah.
Or cut up, like you're 5. Not 32.
Child at heart, yeah.
So I am quite food etiquette. I can do the fork and the spoon, and I can twizzle quite well, and so I would be fine in Italy. But they're saying about the fact that obviously when in Japan they slurp, don't they?
Yeah.
Their noodles, like
yeah, it's common practice for them to do that.
And actually, it's if there's no like noise or sound or slurps, they would think that you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, that sort of level of disrespect.
Yeah.
For it, so which is kind of weird when they're obviously like in this cutaway, should we say, because there's a fair few of them in the film, and it's kind of like, yeah, they're doing this like, oh, this is how people in other countries eat spaghetti. You know, like, no, so they don't make any sound while you're doing this. All these Japanese women are all sitting around trying to not do that, and then it looks like an Englishman in Japan. He's kind of like embracing the culture of thing and just slurping the spaghetti up like it's nothing, and then they all kind of succumb to it, and we're like, well, we're in the country and this is what we do, so we'll just go with it. So
we are who we are, kind of thing. Yeah. But I do think, to be fair, just because we've not been brought up with it, it does seem it would put me off my food a little bit. If I'm completely honest, if I was hearing all these slurpy sounds, it would probably make me. That scene for me was quite funny, but it was like, I don't know if I could eat while I'm hearing all this noises.
No.
If I'm completely honest, it probably put me off. But some of the Japanese eating habits that they do have, like what they have for breakfast and stuff like that, is just obviously different. It's a culture shock initially when I went.
Yeah.
Like having rice for breakfast, which just seems bizarre. Like, unless I've got it for my evening meal.
Yeah.
They do really do well with the cutaways in this film, but some are bizarre, aren't they?
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's a couple of just a bit questionable. One in particular I can think of, which is made me feel a bit, as what does it sound like, really uncomfortable in a way. More the fact that the very first one we get is it's kind of like it's like this fourth wall breaking bit of the opening.
I think that's amazing. I really do love it.
The guy who's like is almost like narrator type of person, who like comes to the cinema with his I guess like a Yakuza person or something, with his like doll or whatever, sits down in front of the row of the cinema with this like buffet spread out kind of thing, kind of setting it up the thing of everybody, this is all about food kind of thing, and he then starts talking to the audience, us, like saying about like, oh, I hate it when people in the cinema start rustling the crisps or whatever, and then he goes and threatens somebody who's doing such a thing, which I kind of get is very annoying.
It is, but then it's the cinema's fault for providing that.
Those kind of things,
yeah.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble, I suppose.
Like, popcorn is, like, when you're going in...
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I seem to be able to have selective hearing, and I can definitely tone it out. But no, I loved the way that it opened up the film with somebody watching
the film,
which
was almost like the film that we are watching as well. So they're watching with us in a sense. But the same character keeps cropping back up, doesn't he? And there's like a situation where he's like in a hotel room with this girlfriend of his, and like, you know, eating stuff off her body, and then like passing a egg yolk in between the mouths. And it's a bit like, that's a bit ugh. But what I'm referring to is more the bit was like, well, there's like a section where he's out by the ocean, this girl is collecting oysters, he eats the oyster from
her hand,
and then it's like there's this weird thing where she starts licking his lips or something because there's blood on it. And it's like, that was the bit that was like, oh no, well, why is this happening? Because aren't you with somebody else in it? But she looks really young, and that's a bit like, puts me off a little bit. But
now this is the thing, I was wondering if it was like flitting back again. Was it her at a younger age, and that's how they met? Because they both had that food kind of, and she does actually look a bit younger than him, even when she's grown up. So that was
I don't know. That wasn't really established as such. I wish that kind of maybe made a bit more clarity on that. But maybe you are supposed to think that because that she's all into this kind of weird, like, eating in a sexualized manner type of thing. So maybe that is the case. But I kind of did think maybe you should maybe clarify that, perhaps, instead of making it weird that you just making out with a younger child.
Yeah, because that's how I assumed it to be. I don't know if that is true or not.
Okay.
But
let's just go with that. Yeah.
What was horrible though is, then was it shrimp or something on her stomach?
Yeah.
And he's like pretending to tickle her with him, and like,
yeah, like drowning thing, and it's like,
it'd be like that would not be a turn on point for me. It'd be like, oh, get them off me! Why the hell are you doing that? And the raw yolk thing. I know. Well, us in the UK think you shouldn't eat it, really, because it's like salmonella. You can get poorly, kind of thing. You should cook your eggs.
Yeah.
But apparently, I think it's a fallacy, isn't it? Because people do eat raw egg yolk, and it's fine. But it was the passing while you're trying to kiss this egg yolk, and then when it kind of, I don't know, she must have been like in a very happy place when she's kind of like chomps on it, and it's like melting all down the mouth, kind of thing.
Yeah, she's kind of like some form of ecstasy for her, and it's like, it's dribbling down her mouth like she's vomiting and all sorts of stuff.
It's horrible. It's like, and then I was thinking, what is this adding?
The only thing it's kind of adding is kind of like breaking up the story, but showing how the people are appreciating food in their own ways is all I can make out from like all these different things.
No one should use food in that way. Unless it's like chocolate or something.
Yeah, the normal things that people would, strawberries and cream and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not
but
prawns and God knows what else. Yeah.
God, it was horrible. And the way that story ends as well, for them too. Like, what the hell? Like, he ends up dying, and he's shot, like,
by some mysterious...
You don't have a clue who by. And he's dead. Well, he's crawling, and then she's crying, wailing. And it's like, well, I know, obviously, if you died, I'd be really upset. Yeah. I'm not... But it was just like, why? Like, what... I don't understand. It's got nothing to do with food. Yeah, they did speak about a lot of food when he was dying.
Yeah, because he said, I want to experience other things with you type of thing. And
But I really, really enjoyed the main story.
Yeah.
Like, for me, sometimes I feel like the length of this film went on a little bit, and the side stories were a bit blah.
Yeah. The one I really liked that really made me laugh is where there's this kind of like, again, almost random scenario where this man's running home to his wife who's like on a deathbed, and then
don't get me started.
And then he's like, "Oh, I know what you can do to keep her awake or whatever. Go cook dinner." for us, and she kind of like almost like zombified, almost like kind of gets up and kind of staggers over and starts cooking the food. And like, what? This is so surreal. And then they're all like eating the food, him and the kids and everything. And then it's like, this is really good. And then it's like, oh, I've fulfilled my destiny, my purpose, or whatever. And this diet is there, and then and it's like, Dad's like, come on, eat your food. This is the last meal that your mother's made for us, so just eat it up. And the kids are all like crying.
How traumatic is that for a child? And also, what a dick of a move for, you know, your wife is on her deathbed, go cook in the kitchen. That proper got my back up, that did. It was like, is that what people think women are? Because we're so much more than that.
No, just like the concept of it, just like that's what kind of like the last thing that she does for them is just to, oh, I'll feed my family, and then it's like, right, okay, you're on your own now, and it's,
my job's done. Yeah, I get it, but it's just
a comedic thing, just so out there. It's funny,
but it's just one of those where it's like, you could have done so much more with her. You could have hugged her. You could have, you know, kissed her or something. Not like just forced her in the kitchen. Like, I'd feel really guilty if that was like the last thing I said to you.
Yeah, I just really like the way that this film like tackles food and just makes it all look really presentable and in a way it makes you like hunger for having something, because it's like, yeah, you want to eat some ramen now.
100% want to eat ramen. That is what this film does give you, and it gives you that passion for food of how you do want to fulfill somebody's stomach. Like, I know when I cook a meal and I'm like, does everyone like it? And you kind of, when she's waiting for people to try her ramen, she's like looking and it's like, is it okay? Does everybody like it? And yeah. I know, I don't know if you do it.
Sometimes do. I don't make food from scratch that often, but I do, especially something I feel like I've put a lot of effort into. I'm hoping like, oh, I've done it right, it's cooked properly and all that kind of stuff, and just hope that people enjoy it, just like anybody does really, if they're making something from scratch rather than just banging something that was already sort of processed and just did it in the oven. It's not the same, but
it is something like that where you like, you've got that pride, it's taking you time and effort and love to put into it, and you want somebody to enjoy it. And I think that's what is amazing about this film, and it's a simple concept of ramen or food done in a really clever way.
Yeah.
The only other thing I thought was a bit strange, and you did mention this while we were watching it, is the stamina for a woman to make ramen.
Oh yes, so yeah, there was kind of like, again, a little bit of ignorance there perhaps, but the fact that it's almost like, oh, only men can run a ramen shop and cook the thing, which is kind of like, it's kind of like an odd concept. Not saying, I mean, it's sort of equal playing field for men and women to be in the kitchen and stuff, but I thought it wouldn't be so much of a problem for women to be making the food as well, especially in
I think it's on the scale, isn't it? So it's when she was lifting that big pot of boiling water and then moving it from each side, and it's like the muscular scale of possibly that it's maybe a heavy lifting dish. But I do know that, to be fair, women probably do majority of the cooking at home.
Yeah.
However, if you look at actual Michelin star chefs, there's more men than there is women. And I think that's because the women do it all the time. That they then don't want to do it as a career.
Maybe, yeah.
And that's why the men enjoy it more.
Perhaps because they're making more like an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But no, I think any woman or man can make ramen or cook if they want to.
Discriminative in that sense, no.
But I do love the fact that you kind of have this kind-hearted man putting in this all for this woman to not really gain anything. Yes, okay, ideally, in my head, they're going to live happily ever after. That is where I've gone with it, and they'll both live in the ramen shop, and, you know, he'll do his odd trucking jobs, and then he'll come back and help make ramen with her, and happily ever after. That's how I see it ending, really, even though it doesn't end that way.
No.
I've ad-libbed on to Paul, see? I'm getting there.
Okay.
But I do think the shop, the way that it's designed for Tampopo, for Tampopo, is beautiful. It's just her
at the end, at the back end of it. You mean when
within
it's
a
all
shop?
constructed?
Yeah. It's perfect. It's lovely, and obviously you've got the dandelion kind of painted outside. Lovely white furnished shop.
Yeah, it's like one of those grand design type things, isn't it? Like, here's what we start with, and now look what you've got, kind of thing. A whole makeover thing. It's really humbling and nice to see. It's kind of got to where it is after the journey that she's been on, kind of thing. And it's really nice.
And she really deserves it.
Yeah.
I think that's something it does feel like a grand design thing where this person's got a bit of a sob story, but they really deserve it.
Yeah.
And so grateful for the outcome, and they've put the graft in as well. And it's just, it shows you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. I think we'll go to a scoring. I'll lead if you having a think.
It's okay. I think I've got it.
Okay.
I think for me it's going to be an 8. I can't score it any higher just for the fact of the odd scenes that just put me off a little bit. It's like you give me ramen, you're making me thirsty for food, and then you make me feel a bit cringy and sicky inside. It's like a bit strange. So obviously it might be a culture thing as well, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just a bit, I'd have rather not had that in the film.
Okay.
It would have stand alone perfectly fine as it was for me personally.
Okay.
What about you?
I think it's going more 8.5 going on 9, but I think it's really going to more the 9 side of things. Like I said, the main put-offs bit was that particular cutaway scene where it's like it doesn't really clear on like how I should feel about that. Is it the way I'm taking it, or is that really like a flashback to when he met his girl for the first time or something like that? That was a bit and there was another one where this old lady's like touching stuff in a convenience store or whatever.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh,
and it's like, I don't know really what that's a bit strange, but I mean it keeps you on your toes. You can't say that. It, like, you know, instead of keeping the story just like, oh, we're just focusing on the ramen shop here, it's giving you, it's like throwing these things that are kind of just like off key, like what like. But
it's also then makes you think, well, what value is this adding? Why do I need to know this?
But like I say, I can get why it's kind of like, well, people are expressing how they feel about food in different ways.
Just want to poke it
and stuff. So I'm all for that. I think that's a good way of I've shown appreciation for the, you know, what we eat in a culinary sense. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with a 9.
Ooh, that's a high one to come out with on the first movie marathon. Be interesting to see if it goes down from here for you, or if it goes higher and then down.
Okay. Down.
Down.
Okay, so on to the next one, which is the one you haven't seen before. Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Hush Puppy.
Yeah.
There's a song now. Oh, never mind. No, it's not.
No?
I thought there's something with Hush Puppy, but it's Hush Little Baby, Don't You Cry.
Yeah.
So never mind.
No. Hush Puppies is a brand of shoes, I think.
Well,
or was, I don't know.
It kept on making me think of Slush
Slush
Puppies.
Puppy.
I'm not gonna lie, that
Okay.
was another thing as well.
Yeah.
So this film, initially I thought when I looked at it, it was animated. I don't know why. I had a glance at the thing, the cover,
yeah,
and I was like, oh. And he was like, no, it's not. But it's because the character looks quite blurred.
Yeah.
In the image, because obviously she's running with fireworks.
Yeah.
She's only about 6 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty sure in the UK you're told not to run with scissors. Never mind run with fireworks.
No, but this is Louisiana, so it's okay.
And it's in bathtub, so anything goes in bathtub. Is there actually? I know this might sound really blonde. Is there an actual place called Bathtub in?
I don't actually know. I think it might just be a fictional scenario for
so it's not
the
based
film,
on
really.
a real story.
Oh no, no, I don't think it is.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, but I think it's just an exaggeration of like Louisiana swamps type of thing and all that kind of stuff that's very more boggy and everything. So it's in this scenario where they're living in like almost like slummy type area where kind of like there's a wall divided between the mainland and where they're living, and it's kind of like they're on the outskirts and they're having to just like fend for themselves in this
They're
dingy
living
area. But
how before society became
more
normal.
primitive. Yeah,
they have to find their own food, like how an animal would have to.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that would have initially been originated with us, with cavemen and everything like that. We would have had to have killed as food, yet again, to kind of get to survive.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they still kind of live with, the survival of the fittest.
Yeah. So in a sense, they are partly the beasts within the Southern Wild, as the title kind of says, as well as this other potentially sort of metaphorical thing of these other beasts that are kind of like making the way to these wetlands. Essentially, it's almost like an imminent storm or disaster thing, as people from the past kind of like believe that monsters were kind of came apparent from thunderstorms, kind of thinking all those loud rumbling noises of their roars and all that kind of stuff.
I can see where they're coming from. I know my granny, bless her, she used to hate any thunderstorms, but she obviously was when World War II was around. And she used to think that there were bombs.
I can see where.
So thunder and lightning for her kind of brought that back for her. So I guess it is anything kind of traumatic. When a thunderstorm comes, it can bring those emotions about.
Yeah. But I thought you'd maybe like this one because of our little lead lady that we've got, Hush Puppy.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, for a 6-year-old actress.
Yeah.
At the time, she's well spoken.
Yeah.
In English as well. You know, she's such a sassy character for her age. She kind of, you're gonna laugh now. Kind of reminds me of me when I was little.
Right. Okay.
I was such a diva when I was little. Like, I had this sass, and I didn't have a problem telling anybody if they miffed me off. Like, I would tell them.
Yeah.
And I could go. I had this mean, hard stare.
Like, a bit like Paddington doing the.
Yeah, but I used to be able to use it really well. So, like, my sister was older. She's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
She was bullied in school by this girl.
And
I went over, we were in primary school, and I went, I'm going to go and talk to this girl, but she's not picking on my sister. Thinking, how embarrassing must that have been for Sarah, that her little sister was then going over to the bully and having a word. Like, that's going to make Sarah look completely ridiculous. But in my head, I was helping.
Yeah.
So I think Hush Puppy, for me,
resonates with you a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Obviously, she's way hardcore than I could ever be. But just that independence at such a young...
Yeah, she has like a sweet, innocent outlook on how the world works, really. It's kind of like really adorable as well.
It is. It really is. Like, I feel for her, though. Like, there's parts where she's crying out for her mama.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just want to look after her, don't you?
Yeah.
You really do. But at the same time, you know, she can look after herself.
Yeah, she kind of seems to like that strong enough and independent enough to look after herself.
Even though she shouldn't have to be 6 years old.
No. But she seems fairly capable. I mean, the fact that she's kind of like, almost like got her own place to live, and her dad kind of like lives at almost like the other end, like back end of the garden, or essentially what is the garden, really.
Yeah, and she cooks her own food and sorts everything out for herself.
Yeah, and there's this theme with like heartbeats as well that kind of comes into play, because she kind of see at the beginning like listening to the heartbeats of the tracks that she picks up and like listening to how it's beating and everything, and seeing like how how they're feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really in tune with how people are feeling, and not really selfish on herself. Really, she's a lovely character. I just kind of wish better for her.
Yeah, because his dad seems as sort of a bit bipolar, doesn't he? And
He's a douche. I don't like him. Like, I think that's why she reminds me of me a little bit. Not saying my dad's a douche. It was more the fact of the fighting him. So
yeah.
I am known. My nickname as a child is called Duffin. I spell it as, and I know people are going to tell me it's wrong. I put a D in front of Sophie basically and get rid of the S, which is Dauphin.
Sophie, but I think it's Duffin. Duffin.
Duffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes more sense
But you can do your PH as an F.
Right.
Like a
F. Yeah. Okay.
So so the reason why I'm called Duffin is I used to play fight with my dad, and that's the only kind of thing we would do. I wasn't really a daddy's girl. I just liked beating him up. To the point of where once he upset me in Asda, and I decided to just punch him in the stomach in the middle of Asda.
Yeah, winded him.
And I winded him. And that kind of, I think, was where she reminded me of me when her dad was upsetting her, that she punched him in the heart, kind of.
Yeah.
Also, my dad's had a heart attack too, and I remember after the fact of my dad having that, I didn't want to play Duffins anymore.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to beat him up and be my
injure
fault.
him, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's weirdly, this resonated a bit too true to me.
Because there's a few instances throughout the film where it's kind of like, you're kind of wondering, like, almost like a ticking time bomb. It's almost like you tell he's not particularly mentally well or physically well. Yeah. And you're thinking like, oh, is like, where's he gone type of thing. He seems to have disappeared. And then that instance where he's kind of been punched in the stomach and thinking, is this the end for him type of thing? And then it's not until much later on in the film where...
And Hush Puppy's relationship with her dad, she does obviously love him and care for him. Right. She doesn't want him to go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she pushes him away sometimes.
Yeah, or he definitely seems to push her, or he's kind of like... It feels like he's doing it for her own good, but
he's trying to do it for her own good, but it's not working. It's not what she needs.
Yeah, no, it's not helpful. He
thinks he's making her independent, but he pushes her too hard. She's only 6.
Yeah.
He needs to be thinking of who can look after her when I'm not here.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, he's trying to make her really independent on herself. Which I know really you shouldn't rely on anybody to look after yourself apart from yourself. But that's the whole reason why there's loads of people on this world.
Yeah.
It's so people can be there to help you and support you.
But she sort of eventually gets to a point where she thinks what she thinks is like a mother enough in the distance, almost like this lighthouse beacon that she can kind of see way away. And she manages to get to this place where it's really not all it's cracked up, because it's kind of like a brothel on the waterfront, really.
But the reason that she thinks that, bless her, is because her dad said that her mum went to sea.
Yeah.
So I initially was wondering, like, is she dead? Like, did she drown in the sea?
Yeah.
Or has she gone on a boat and left them?
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of never really truly answered. And even though we're in this brothel, and we think Hush Puppy may have found her mum, but you're still not sure. It depends on how you want to take it. Like, I'd like to think that was her mum, but then I feel like she should have come back with Hush Puppy. So then a part of me thinks her mum's dead.
Yeah, or she's kind of like imprinting one of these women as the mother for her, really. Maybe she thinks that is her mother, really. The kind of way it's kind of like the camera is kind of focusing on this one in particular. That it's like you're not sure whether that is her mother or not, or just somebody she kind of maybe looks like her, and it's like, oh well, that is my mother, but it's not really.
And I think there's a constant thing throughout the film where she does want a mother figure.
Yeah.
A lot. You just want to take her in, don't you? And look after her, really. That's how I felt. I was like, I'll have a hush puppy, it's fine. Yeah. But we're not living in bathtub. Not meaning it's a horrible place, but I can't swim. So
no.
I would drown.
No. I think the first time I did see this film, though, I think I was more upset when, spoilers, the dad does kind of like giving him the implication that he's going to pass away, because he's like, oh no, crying now, but then he's crying and she's like really upset and everything. I was feeling like a bit choked up there, but I didn't feel that this time. I don't know what. Maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind on it or something.
Maybe it was me, because I normally would feel something, but I really didn't like the father character that much. He came across a little bit like a dick to me.
Yeah.
In the way that, like, I would not treat, if I had a child, like that. So I felt like, to be fair, Hush Puppy might have been better off without him.
You did say that throughout the film. You're thinking, oh, he's almost like, I can't wait for him to die, and then she can be like her own little story and not have to be worrying about him. Yeah.
So maybe that's because I was saying that maybe that touching moment for you was ruined. I don't know.
Maybe,
but no, I just don't think he served her well. Really, he tried. But he was like the fact when he stayed there with the storm. Like, I know obviously you love bathtub, but at the end of the day you need to put your family first. And if this place is going to kind of have a big storm and it's going to flood, and you can't live or survive there, then you need to do best for your family, not for the place that you live in.
Yeah, it's all again about pride for him, really, but it's like, it's not really worth it when you could potentially drown or lose everything that you have.
Like, I understand they don't want to go into society, and I get that might be scary if you live in that way of life. But I'm sure you could find another land or somewhere else where everybody else will go in, that you don't have to conform to that way of living.
No.
Also, there was a scene where he was drunk while the storm was happening, then goes out, her Hush Puppy's scared to hell, and he's got a gun trying to fight the storm, and I'm just thinking, oh, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
You just
you're almost like, oh, you're going to get yourself killed here just by doing that.
It's like, you've got a responsibility to look after a child. You don't get pissed and start waving a gun around.
No. I think one last thing before we get to scoring is, like, what did you make of the actual, like, creatures that kind of, like, I guess represent the
they look a bit like balls, but there was a name for them, wasn't there?
Aurochs, I think, was the...
They've got bull horns, haven't
they?
To me, they just looked like a big boar. I didn't seem to be scared of them.
No.
I do think there was a really powerful scene within them where you see that Hush Puppy
kind of like confronts them.
Yeah, and I think that's a really powerful kind of scene that you do get. Was kind of, initially I was wondering what the representation of the kind of boar creature was, but you kind of opened that up with the fact of, like, the rhinoceros in James and Giant Peach.
Yeah. It's easier to think about that more so these days with those kind of things, like how monsters are, like, from your imagination, aren't they, really? And that's where they kind of come from. And in films like this, it's kind of like seeing, well, that's really what it's about, because they mention about, like, polar ice caps melting, and that's where they kind of, like, frozen in too. So then now they're melting, so now they're more coming to life, so it's more an impending thing of the flood and everything that's kind of coming their way. So
it is scary because part of it is real.
Yeah.
Global warming. We've had a lovely summer in the UK this year, but then we had an absolute shocker of a winter last year coming into this year. So it definitely is one extreme to the other, it does feel. There is one line though that Hush Puppy says. Once there was a Hush Puppy that lived in bathtub, and scientists are going to know that she lived with her daddy. And it's just like, bless her. That little line is like, she says it so many times, like, scientists are going to find out about me.
Yeah,
and
it's so sweet, yeah.
I know. And then there was another line just going on to the factory with the dad, because she thought she'd lost him again. And she thought he could have been a tree or become a bug.
Yeah.
And it's just the principle of the naivety, even though she's so independent.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, it's really endearing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the best thing of the whole movie.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It really, really makes it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have a score for this one?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 9.
No way.
Just because of Hush Puppy. This was my favourite one out of all of them.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy Tampopo, but I feel like that this one was more... I had some connections with it.
Yeah.
I think
that's good. Yeah.
I understood it a little bit more. And Hush Puppy was just adorable.
Mm-hmm.
She's the best part of the film, and she's the main part, so that's even better. It makes you value what you've got as well, I feel, within this film. It's got some good morals of kind of community and friendship and values in that sense. And it shows that actually you can be happy with minimalistic.
Yeah.
And that does show in Tampopo as well, because the homeless people in that as well, the happier, the less you have, the more you give.
Yeah, that's true.
And it does seem that way.
Yeah.
So, kind of good morals, but yeah, just Hush Puppy. Like, I'd have a Hush Puppy. I would adopt a Hush Puppy.
Okay.
Do you want a Hush Puppy?
Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm going slightly lower than yours this time.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, it's going to be an 8.
Okay, I can take that. So you preferred Tampopo? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's maybe because it was more like a fresh and interesting. Not to say this wasn't interesting again to see this film, but
you've seen it already, haven't you?
Seen it. I don't know. It didn't strike me or get me in the feels as much this time for whatever reason, but still enjoyed it. And like I said, Hush Puppy is the star of the film, as rightly so, because it's kind of like her story and how she's getting through her situation in this crazy world that she's living in and everything. So she's the best part of it. But there's I didn't really twig on certain connections that you might get from this film. So I'm kind of glad that you brought some new aspects to. I didn't really think that you can, personally relate to. Yes, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I did wonder, thinking she's probably going to like this one the most, I feel. But I didn't know if there were certain bits in the film you're thinking, oh, this dad's an arsehole type of thing, and so I'm not going to like this kind of thing. So I'm really glad that you really had a connection with it. Yeah.
It's getting some good scores, and I feel like there's going to be a bombshell now.
It's going to go all down now, isn't it?
Yeah,
with this one. So this is more a jokey one in a sense, but I thought it'll just be for a laugh, really, because it's the back end of the day and kind of just like more zone out, really. But it's I've seen it a fair few times, and the first time I don't
know why you keep coming to it. Like, I don't know why.
So, if you haven't guessed, or you've probably seen from reels and stuff, but it is Troll 2 that we're talking about. The first time I ever knew about this film was, it's almost like something weird, because it was like, I guess it kind of speaks for itself in a way. It was like a market stall type thing, like in almost like a car boot sale type of thing.
Well, someone was clearly trying to shift it. How much did you pay for it?
It was DVD, so it wasn't that much anyway. Maybe like a couple of quid. So but it's the cover that really struck me. It was like this thing called Troll 1 and Troll 2. It's like a double disc. I think that's that seems alright. Like a thing, and it's like, oh, this looks really intriguing. Obviously, I know nothing about it at this point, and I mean, Troll 1 is fairly competent as a film. Really, it's actually got like a decent story and a premise and everything. The effects in that are much better. Maybe that's something to look at in the future in comparison to.
Please no.
But but Troll 2 was like a bit of a weird, like, mind blowing experience. Like, what is this? What is this? Why? How does this connect to the first one in any way, shape, or form? And it really doesn't. And that's the thing about it. And it's known as like one of the best, worst movies. There's even like a documentary about it.
That's a compliment. The best, worst movie. The first thing is, it should be called Goblins.
That's true. Yeah, there's not a single troll in this. Yeah.
So why the hell we're calling it Troll 2? I'm gobsmacked, because everything is goblins. Even the fact that they're going to this place that is goblin spelled backwards.
Nilbog, yeah.
You know, so it's not troll, is it? It's not lol, tall, or whatever troll would be.
I can't even say it.
Maybe that's
Lort.
Maybe that's why they did it, because it couldn't have.
No, that's the whole crux of the story. It's just because they couldn't spell it backwards without making it work. No, I think partly of it is down to the director being like foreign and not really kind of like
Italian, you said?
Yeah, I think so. Like almost like broken English, so kind of like the lost in translation as to what he thought a troll and a goblin was.
To be fair, I don't know what the difference is either.
Well, isn't like you think of like trolls? I think of, but you get different sizes, don't you? Because it's like the trolls in the Trolls movie, little with the puffy hair type thing.
Oh yeah.
But then you have trolls like Harry Potter. They're like massive, aren't they? And then like in Lord of the Rings, there's same principle. So it's kind of like, well, what could you say is a troll? They're obviously different sizes, like you would have certain animals.
I feel like the troll is what you used to get in your cereal when you were little.
Pencil topper, yeah.
Yeah. With the hair, multicoloured hair.
Yeah.
That's what a troll is to me. A goblin, don't have a clue what a goblin is.
I just think of the fairly small things, but more like that live in caves and stuff, and a bit more, grotesque like these things are. But yes, we have a lot of goblins in this.
So, I think as well, from the fact that we watched the previous films that we did, this made this one really, really worse. So, first of all, you've got a young actor again, Joshua.
Yeah.
Well, he's no hush puppy, is he?
No, he's really not. He's such a whiny, insipid character. He's just
whining for his granddad. I know his granddad is deceased, and that is, it's quite sad. And obviously, he's like a medium that can speak to the dead.
Yeah.
Which, what my story and background with that is.
Uh-huh.
We will not go into that because it just scares me. But the thought of his acting skills, like, he's the best actor in here.
The grandpa.
Well, no, Joshua, is
a little
boy.
I said the grandpa was probably the best one.
He's not there that often, though, so the little boy is better than his mum.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
And it's like, but then he's no hush puppy, so it's like, it's hard because...
Yeah, you can tell that kids can have talent and actually put a performance on, whereas...
his was just... But then to say he was near enough one of the best actors in it is like making this really, really hard to kind of slag him off, because it's like he was the one.
At least he's trying. Yeah,
tried to put a performance on, but he just doesn't have any talent. That's the thing. It's not for a lack of trying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the mum's acting is just shocking.
Oh, it isn't just, yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, who thought she was a good idea to be casted?
What was it? The dad, I was like, who are the goblins?
Yeah.
Like, was that a band or something? Or...
Well, to be fair, I'd say to you, what are goblins? Like, what would you define as a goblin? But
that's not what she was asking. She was like, who are the goblins? Like,
but she looked really, really like starstruck. Like,
yeah. Her eyes was always constantly wide and everything. But her sister was not much better, I don't think, in terms of actually she's proper like almost hamming it up in a sense, like with a boyfriend that kind of
so over exaggerating.
He can't stand you. Like
Yeah,
it's like that,
so put on.
yeah.
Like,
if my father finds out about you being here, yeah, it's kind of like
she's acting like if that.
It's trying too hard, and
it felt more like she should be on a stage. It felt like she felt like she was on a West End or something, or like on a show that people are watching, so she has to pronunciate and kind of be like really loud. Like, she seems to overtake the scene with her voice and her pronunciation, and she has to be kind of like, but it's just so unrealistically staged. And
it's forced.
Yeah, like with the other films we've watched, the acting was pretty top notch. She felt like you were actually just watching somebody's real life.
Yeah.
Whereas this is what this should be about. It's like a family going on holiday. How real life can you get? Everybody goes on holiday.
Yeah. It's relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it really isn't.
No, just because of how they're acting and everything. Yeah.
So already you getting off on a bad foot with acting skills, like just shocking. And then we get to the place and then it just gets even weirder from there.
Yeah.
Why is all the food green?
Because they're all vegetarian, aren't they, or something? And it's
like, apart from veg, what other food can you think of that is green, that is edible to eat?
Yeah, it's all like, I was gonna say jelly, but that's like lime jelly and
stuff.
Yeah,
fruit or veg.
Technically, well, it's not veg, but
you know what I mean, though. So it's still the same principle, isn't it? It's like still vegetarian. What other green thing? So wouldn't you be questioning it? Like,
yeah, no, they're just accepting this food that's just put out for us, and let's just eat it. It's like,
it looks lovely. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it's like, it's essentially like sweet corn with like green frosting on it, and it's like,
so weird.
Like, why would you just start eating that?
Like the cake as well, like looks like a flange or something.
Yeah.
And it's like welcome, and it's like, well, it just doesn't look appetizing. So I don't understand unless I put like some kind of spell in the food for it to look more appealing than it does, because I'm pretty sure if
these people are so gullible, it's like, let's just eat this food.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't want to eat it.
Well, there's a couple of instances where that happens, and it's like there's a part where the sheriff like offers one of the Elliot's friends, who's the one who's pursuing Holly, the daughter, and they go on this camper van and everything. One of his friends goes into town or whatever to get some food, and sheriff like offers him a sandwich, and that's covered with green stuff as well. And it's like, oh, eat this, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And it's like, what?
I'd have gone,
what is it?
Yeah.
No.
Before you shove it in your mouth, I'd be like, well, what kind of sandwich is it? Oh no, you're okay. I don't like egg mayonnaise or something like that. You know.
Yeah. But in terms of like other people, like OTT, the woman who's like at this church house place, and she's like the queen or whatever. She's Credence. She's her name isn't. She's like proper like, hello, it is I type of thing. Like, come in, please. It's like so OTT. Like, putting it on.
It feels like something that you'd watch, like a creepy Halloween film. Like, she should be casted.
Like she's some like a pantomime villain. Almost, yeah.
Like you boo her when she comes on stage. Yeah. That's what it does feel like. It does. Yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. And she's just cringe-worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat pretty but ugly at the same time, which is weird.
It was pretty later on, but...
Yeah, but you know that she should be pretty, but she's appearing as ugly and acting ugly.
Yeah.
And it's just... I don't know. I just feel like uncomfortable with the whole film all the way through. I just don't like it at all. And it's not really that... It's just bad. It's not really bad, but it's just like... It's one of those things where it's it could be better, but even if you improved it, like, it still shouldn't be a movie.
Shouldn't have been made. Do you feel like, yeah, it's just like, what
It's
was
a waste of like an hour and a half of my time. Thanks. And I've watched this twice now. I don't know why it's happened again.
So it'd be funny just to look at back, reflect on it. Really, I don't know how many times I've seen this now, but it didn't really.
Obviously, you don't value your time.
It's more like a thing because it's funny to have a drink and watch it kind of thing. It's like I laugh how bad it is because some of the dialogue is just, you're like, oh my god, is like obviously one of the famous things in it, and it's just like the costumes are just really awful. Like, maybe like one of the masks looks fairly decent, but they kind of recycling the same faces on things. So, you know, almost like paper mache type faces going on some of the costumes. It's like, yeah, it's almost like a kid's play, isn't it?
It does feel that way, and obviously Joshua is the main lead, and he's kind of, when he's talking to his grandbass.
Grandbam.
So Joshua is obviously your main lead, and when he's talking to his granddad, Seth, it's like that whole kind of mirror through.
Yeah.
Like, glow is just, like, that's not even real, is it? It's not even a great effect. It doesn't make you think that he's come from the dead or anything like that, do you? You just know that he's an actor, that he's just popped up in a mirror.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what it is. It's not, it doesn't leave you wondering, oh, how did they do that? You're never thinking, oh, this is brilliant crafts work.
There are some special effects, more the prosthetic stuff sometimes, like when they've got like the leaf branches coming out of fingers and stuff. That does look fairly convincing. Sometimes some of the blood and stuff when it's, you know, like green liquid just pouring out there. Yeah, it looks a bit,
like, well, not a lot or something.
Yeah, a lot pretty rubbish. But yeah, there's just more. I guess it looks more unsettling when it is like actual blood and stuff's like poking out the skin and stuff. It kind of looks a bit, doesn't look comfortable to be wearing something like that or anything. But yeah, it did on it's maybe not as great as I do remember, as a weird sentence as that may seem, because there's like people in America who like have like these big, like, you know, cinema screens of seeing this and having a laugh and everything with this, like, you know, conventions and almost kind of thing, and it's like, I can't put my finger on it. Maybe this time it's maybe like maybe it's not as great as I kind of remember it being, but. Or it's like, it's funny to a degree, but it's kind of like most of it is a bit of a slog in terms of like what's going on with the story, and it's not like a laugh a minute as such as you might think it might be. Like, say something like, whereas like The Room, for example, the oh hi Mark type of thing, which we will get to at some point.
I don't want to. I really don't.
But there feels like there is definitely more value in that. In everything. And
I'll probably be sat there just no heart, cold stone bitch face, be like, this is not funny. And then you'll be like, oh, it's not as good as I thought it was because I'm not laughing.
Yeah. It wasn't like I was expecting you to be laughing through it like guffawing like I was through this, but it's kind of like you to point out the fact that, oh my god, these actors are just absolutely awful. Like,
they're so awful.
This is like not how to not act and do a film.
And I think as well, I think for you probably because we've seen two really good films in the same day, maybe that had a knock-on effect. Like, also with you trying to be a bit more critical minded with film viewing, how can you score this highly when you've just got 9s and 8s?
Yeah.
And then these people can't even act. It's like, you can't do that, can you?
No, you can't. Not even in like nostalgia factor for me in this one. There's not much.
Hell no.
There's not like
I let it pass like Pokemon. I understand your nostalgia with that, so that's fine.
And the Space Jam and stuff. Yeah.
Troll 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not letting that one go. I'm wanting a low.
Yeah, there will be.
I've already got my score in mind.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add on then before?
So milk is free.
Yeah.
They don't have bacon. They don't do eggs because they're all vegetarian. It's like, well, if I'd have known that and I brought my own food, why has nobody brought their own food? Like, this is another thing. Like, I understand they're there for a month. Like, when we go to a cottage, we don't.
Yeah, you don't have to bring your own a month's worth of food. Do you expect the town to have stuff? Don't you?
For a week, like they literally rock up and they've got no food. And it's like, why didn't you bring any?
Yeah.
With you.
Mm-hmm.
You could have lasted a week not eating their crap. Then, so just stuff like that. Where it's like it's not realistic. Like people would have brought something with them. They would not have no food unless you're stupid.
No.
You also get to a point of where, at the back end, obviously Joshua's kind of getting to a point of where he knows they're goblins. Or
he's known like from the blooming get-go.
Yes, he peed on the food, didn't he? Initially,
you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it. That's another favourite line of the film. But what are you gonna do to me, Daddy? Was it tighten my belt so I don't get hunger pains? I don't know if that's a thing. Is that a thing?
No, I really thought it meant he was going to take his belt off.
Yeah, that's
to like whip him kind of thing.
Yeah.
To punish him, but no, I don't think that's. Well, I don't know. I don't wear a belt, but I don't.
Maybe
imagine.
We all should try it, and it's like we'll lose weight just by doing.
I wish if that were a thing, wouldn't that be like a fad diet by now? Yeah. Tighten your belt up and you won't eat as much.
Yeah.
But at the back end, when you get the goblins kind of coming over, they're like, oh, there's no food, and we brought you a cake, and done a spread, and all of this, and then they're singing that same song over and over and over again, and they're clapping their hands in this weird, eerie, freaky way.
Yeah, and the family's just kind of sat around like, well, what, isn't this a bit weird? Why? And they're just kind of just like, just clap,
and getting closer to them, like kind of like a ritual to meet
exactly,
them.
some sort of like sacrifice or something, which is essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to make them eat the food, then they turn into this green vegetarian pod goo, whatever you want to call it, and then they start eating. So they're kind of like vegetarian cannibals in a sense. It's just like not like outright eating meat. They're kind of waiting for the people to become slush, vegetable mush, and then like, well, now we can eat you now, kind of like because
they're not purified enough.
Because they made an effort to, I think that's some like statement or something about vegan vegetarianism, like Joshua eats like a bologna sandwich at the end to kind of like, you won't be pure if you eat that, and then he does, and it's like, no. And
they have to stay away, and it's like, well, if that were the case, let's just get some cows in here or something.
Yeah.
like
get the boys in, yeah.
Yeah, just the principle of it. It's like, if that was the case, well, also my other argument, drive out of town. There's no food in Gollum.
Neil Bog, yeah.
Is Gollum a troll or a...
No, he was a hobbit, remember?
Yeah, but
then he became he's his own thing. So out of Neil Bog, and
just go to the nearest convenience store.
Yep. You think so, wouldn't you? Yeah, just go.
Get loads of bacon in. You're fine. Cook it off and scare them all off. No, like simple.
No, and it's the most like shoehorned, like, let's close it up with only goodness can destroy the goblins, and it's like, what makes them good? Really, just like touch. No, not even like a clever thing of like you got to do an incantation or something like that to stop. No, just touch this stone and you are good, and that defeats them.
Such a weak line though, because it's like, well, why are they good?
Yeah, what makes them good? In what way?
What have they done heroically?
Yeah, it's not
to help anybody.
Yeah.
Apart from Joshua peeing on food. and whining the entire time. Like,
yeah, he was getting on my nerves this time a little bit. Oh my god! Like you get, I know, kid actors and stuff, but they're not always the best anyway. But that's just shut up, really. And then we've got the other friends of Elliot's. I think only one of them gets away scot-free. There's that other weird thing with the popcorn.
What does he? I don't know. Like because you've got the one with the popcorn. Like, I don't really know what happens to him.
He's just buried in a sea of popcorn, and that's it. And it's like, oh, he says no more popcorn, and then that's it. And that's the thing you see of.
But does he become cabbage liquidy goo? Because
No, I don't think he does.
Also, does she just want some fun with him?
It doesn't really make a lot of sense, because then as soon as she comes out, she's back to being old again. So it's like,
She's exhausted her youth or something.
Like, who knows? It doesn't really make sense, but you can't really.
Is it because Joshua's touching the stone at this point, and that's why she can't finish him? So to Greeny Goop
perhaps, yeah.
She has to go and sort other business out.
Yeah.
But the other two friends get.
Yeah, the one who gets turned into a plant pot, and the other one who's. I don't think.
I think he dies.
Yeah, you assume
so.
Yeah.
Don't actually see it. Yeah. And then that one with the girl.
Elliot, yeah.
No, the other one that was like looking like Groot in a pot.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, him.
But he goes after that girl, doesn't she? That scene where she's screaming and with the green goop coming out of her and everything. It's like, this is going on for forever. And it's like she's somewhat sexualizing it at the same time, like the way they had to get somebody so perfect with the body and everything. Yeah. They didn't want just a blob, did they? Turning into gloop.
No.
I just don't know why, of all things on a movie choice, you'd want to pick this. Like, I don't get
funny.
it.
We'd have to talk about it ever again.
Thank goodness. I'm out of here. I'm done.
Okay, so now we'll go to a scoring then. Before you do go out of here.
What do you think my score is?
Is it going to be lower than Borat?
Was that a 2?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a 2.
2.
Do I need to explain why?
No.
It's just crap.
Yeah.
Crap.
I think on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, I think it's rated like a 2% out of 100, so that kind of shows.
So right. So listen to me, everybody. Don't listen to Paul, because he's going to score it like a 5 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to justify, like, in the sense of, for enjoyment of, like, having a laugh, there's value in that, but in terms of actual other content, it's I guess it is even kind of a hard sell on that, really, because it's not, I wouldn't say it's the best, worst movie, because not consistently, there are bits that drag, and it's not like, oh, this is really, really funny type of thing. So I think I'd maybe put it at 3.
Thank God.
I think, really. I've had to say, if it was like a...
This means we can still get married now.
Okay. It's hard to put it as any higher, I think, because I was expecting to be like, ripping it to shreds and like having a blast all the way through, but even with drink, it was like, this isn't as good as I remember it being.
I was just like, can it end?
And it's just like, yeah, it's really disheartening, but I'm kind of glad we've done this and talked about it, really, because...
I'm just so glad that we didn't do a full episode on it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't think it was really worthy of doing that, so I think that's why we've gone. I picked that one out, and...
I just can't wait for my birthday now.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been able to pick one in a while.
No.
You haven't given me that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope you've all enjoyed listening to our movie marathon birthday.
Number 3, yeah. Yeah.
Special. It's been really good fun. We've enjoyed it, haven't we, at least?
Oh, you definitely, yeah.
even though we have to watch Troll 2 or Goblin 1.
Yeah.
That's the low point of it, but we're still here to tell this tale, aren't we?
Yeah. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please do go check out all our other episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you might get your podcasts from. And of course, we're on the social media platforms of Instagram and Twitter mostly, under the handle SP_filmviewers. And if you'd like to make a small donation to our cause, then do go to our Buy Me a Coffee page and buy us coffee, if you'd be so kind.
You can buy Paul a coffee because it's his birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Also, you could leave us a review if you'd prefer to do that. That works too. That's on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser. I don't think there's anywhere else you can do that, but those are the two main ones you can do so.
Please do that because it definitely makes us day.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see all these nice comments of people valuing our podcasts. Also, please reach out to us if there is a film or anything like that you do want us to review. You know, I'm really open to any films now, aren't I, Paul? I'm getting there.
Yep.
Also, to be fair, Paul, bless him, does a lot of work picking the films. So if you want to help him out and you think there's a film
give us an idea, yeah,
that I might not like, send it over.
So, with that said, thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.